everyone, and welcome to Those Forking Fangirls, where we talk all things nerdy book, TV, movie, pop culture, fandoms, and how they integrate into our adult lives. I'm Natasha.
And I'm Christine.
And today we're going to be discussing the top 10 TV shows of 2023.
Woo! I love these episodes. I got so excited putting together my list.
It's so just we're going into season 2, year 2, and like we did this episode last year, and so like it feels fun to be able to have these like annual things now, and it's exciting, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I've kind of carried it because I used to do it annually on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Now it's here. I love all of our December episodes are going to be like kind of annually-ish. We've got, well, not all of them, but some of them are like, we've got our top 23 moments of 2023 that's going to be coming up. We love that episode last year. Our top 22 moments of 2022 was so fun. And like in the new year, when we're getting close to the Oscars, we'll get to do our like fangirl Oscars of 2023. Yeah. Yes, I love that. So that's really cool. This is officially kind of our first episode of like a new year because it's episode 53.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we're going to officially be like, we're in season 2 come January. So we have like a nice hard line instead of like the merge of seasons as we go into November, December. So as usual, before we go into our main discussion, we are going to roll into some snap, crackle, pop culture news. Natasha, you want to kick us off? You've got some news on here this week.
Yes. Okay. So the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes made this as of Thanksgiving weekend, it made $197 million on the box office. It is almost going to hit that $200 million box office, which is so amazing, so great. It's like the #1 movie that did really well in the holiday season, so we are happy for that. And a little sad news, but Disney's Wish only made $19 million. They were hoping for like $35 million.
It wasn't that great of a story, but I don't know because I didn't see it. But that's
know
what
nothing
on
about. I know nothing about this Wish movie. I think I only know like who the main actors are. I just found that out. I don't know. I haven't seen like a trailer or anything. I haven't heard the songs.
Me either. I haven't seen anything except for what I saw on Twitter, and it was people saying that they didn't put enough effort into the story or something. But I can't really speak because I know nothing like you.
Yeah. Disney is not doing very well with their films because also like the Marvels didn't make much either in the box office, which is sad. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. I still really want to see that one because I love all those characters.
Yeah, I probably see it as soon as it comes out on streaming.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a priority to get to the theater for it when I have such issues getting to the theater with my anxiety dog. But rolling on into today in Taylor Swift news. Yesterday, as of when we're recording this, was her last stop of 2023. She had 66 shows, I believe, and she was in Brazil for her last show, and she'll be back in Tokyo February 8th. And for her last 2 surprise songs, she did Say Don't Go, and she did It's Time to Go, which it was chilling to hear. I mean, chilling in the best way to hear her say, he's got my past behind glass, but I've got me after the year that she's had. Because she fucking does got her. It was time to leave, her record label and everything. And she has experienced success like nobody else ever has in re-releasing her albums. And it's been Taylor Swift's year. And I was just so proud of her listening to her sing It's Time to Go for the first time live, which was beautiful. And let's see, she also announced that the Eras Tour is going to be available to rent on all, the streaming services where you can rent movies starting December 13th, her birthday. Her
Woo!
34th birthday is coming up. And on the rental version, they are going to have Wildest Dreams, Long Live, and The Archer, 3 songs that were cut from the movie version, which is really cool.
Oh, that's wow.
Yeah, so are you going to rent it, Natasha?
I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I know. I probably just would. If it streams, I'll skip to the parts with the songs that we haven't seen on the movie.
Yeah. I mean, Taya texted me this morning and she's like, "Ooh, Taylor Swift watch." And I'm like, oh, you know what? We probably will because Alex and Liam haven't watched it and we did want them to see it. So we probably will
Yeah.
with them.
I mean, if I was with a group of people watching, it'd be different. I don't think I'm going to rent it by myself.
No, not by myself. Yeah.
Okay, so we had one last bit of news. Oh, wait, we have 2 things. Natasha, what have you got?
Disneyland just all of a sudden decided to close down Bell's Library. And if you don't know what Bell's Library is, it's in Disney California Adventure. You've been there, Christine. I think like when we went.
Honestly, I feel like I've only been to the Disney World one. I didn't even know they had one in Disneyland.
Yeah, and it's like a little extension in the like animation building, and it's just a fun place to go, especially if it's really hot outside, to get away. And you get to like sit in like the chair. It's just so fun and so nostalgic, and I'm just really sad that they closed it down. So like everything in that little area is closed down, but you get to sit in the chair and then answer a bunch of questions, and then it would show you like what character you are. And it's just so cute, like Melissa says. So that's sadly closed down, and I am so sad I didn't get to go like one last time.
Yeah, that's a bummer. I didn't even know it was there.
You went, because I do remember we all went during like VidCon or something, because there's video of it.
It was so long ago, I don't remember. It didn't leave a lasting impression. But that's really sad. I'm sorry they've closed it down because you really treasure your air-conditioned areas in a place like Disneyland. Like the Hall of Presidents is a great place to go in Disney World.
Good. Yeah.
But all right, our last bit of news today is just basically a reminder because I haven't talked about it in 2 weeks. But guys, I have a 3rd book called Attached at the Hip, and it is coming out May 21st, 2024. It is a rom-com, adventure rom-com. It's kind of like if Survivor met a rom-com. If you've watched Survivor for a long time and you know like the Rob Amber showmance, that was a big inspiration for me. I wanted to watch a showmance happen, and so I was like, I'm gonna write my own. You don't have to have seen any Survivor to enjoy the book. It is a fun ride for all, and it's available for pre-order, and pre-orders are so important to the future of the book, the launch of the book. So if you're at all interested in reading it, I'd really appreciate your pre-order. I have a link in the description where you can find it, but it's on all like the major book sites. And yeah, I'm really excited. ARCs just came in the mail for me. I just got some ARCs to give to my fam. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's like the draft. You know, I'm working up to the very last draft, and it's the draft before the last draft. And there's some bits in there that like are not the finished bits. You know, like I changed like some of my favorite parts that are the parts that I changed, and they're only going to be in the final version. So there's this part of me that like anytime I see someone reading an advance copy, I'm like, damn it. That doesn't have my changes. So I know in the grand scheme of things, it's not that huge of a deal, but there's like pivotal moments that I, you know, just shifted and made a little different. And so that's always a mad bummer. It's not as much so as when the Better Together arcs, I was like, oh my God, I made changes. And I just was really like not as happy with the arc version, but this one's like I made my peace with the fact that the ARC version is going to be this version, but I just changed words in the dead of night for the ARC version that I hated and changed back for the final version. So you have some weird word changes if you get the ARC. Anyway, the book's available for pre-order. Please pre-order the book if you're going to read it. All right, we're going to roll into what right now? Natasha, what are you reading right now?
I am reading Iron Flame. I'm 3/4 of the way in. I'm in the end game. And
No spoilers.
No spoilers. So that's been taking up all my time. Really, I haven't really been watching too many other things or doing anything else but read Iron Flame, because I finished Fourth Wing and I literally just went right into Iron Flame. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've been on deadline, so I haven't been able to read it. This week is going to be my Iron Flame week because I am only like 16% of the way in right now. And I didn't want to read it without being able to like do a reading vlog too. So even as I was reading it, I was kind of like, I don't want to get to this part yet because I want to be able to film it. Chloe says, I'm waiting for your motherfuckers to finish. Jeez. It just feels so different when I'm reading something that I like know I want to film. I feel this weird pressure to not read it until I can film, and sometimes it delays. Yeah. But it's worth it in the end if I get to film the video. So I've been doing audiobooks like on my breaks, and I'm loving the Spotify's premium new audiobook allowance thing. So you get 15 hours of audiobooks per month with your subscription, which is just like game changer for me because that's most of the books. That's 15 hours. So last month, that's how I read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. Yeah, that's the name of it. And so this book, I've been trying to find one to like satiate my audiobook craving and also be one of the books that I haven't read and I've seen all over the place and I've wanted to join in the conversation for. So I've tried a bunch this month before finding the one I think I'm finally going to listen to. I did the Time War for like an hour and it was just feeling very pretentious, the writing, and I wasn't in the mood for it. I don't know if anyone's read the Time War. I've heard just amazing things about how beautiful the writing is, but it was the type of writing that annoys me after a while where they're just not giving enough and you have to just keep hoping that they'll like spill little clues about what's actually going on. And I was like, I'm not here for this right now because they're also, it's very sci-fi feeling and it just wasn't personal enough. I want like hear a personal story.
Is the Time
and
War
you can
book
like dabble
called This Is How You Lose the Time War?
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Okay.
It's like, you know what it reminds me of? What is that? The Umbrella Academy. You know that lady who runs the time company that is also in every other thing that Netflix makes. Yeah, it reminds me of that. Like there's two companies that are trying to like run time. You know, they're basically trying to like alter the timelines to suit the needs of either the world or their company. And there's two warring companies. All right, Natasha, what have you been watching? What movies did you watch? I think we watched the same movie and I forgot to put it on the list until I saw yours.
Yeah. Finally watched Spider-Man
Across the
Spiderverse. It was so good. But like,
dude, good.
Why don't we have a release date for the third movie? Because it ends and you're like, what?
I don't care. It was so good. I was just like, it was so fucking funny. It was so clever. It was so well done in so many different ways. And I laughed. I cried. I laughed some more. I had so much cackling. I love all the different Spider-Mans so much. Like they could have easily been too much, but they were just amazing. I want to watch it again.
Alex has read the Spider-Man comics like since he was a wee lad, so like, and done all the games and stuff, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's what, oh my gosh, look who that is, look at that Spider-Man, and it was very fun. I'm like, I don't know who any of these are, but like, that's great. I'm happy that you know all these people, but I'm like, this is just fun. My favorite part was Peter Parker.
Your favorite?
Peter Parker with his kid.
I love that too, but I loved Mumbai Spider-Man. He was awesome. Yeah. It's so funny talking about how there's like palpable romantic tension between Miles and Gwen, and all the stuff with the chai tea.
Oh yeah, that was great.
Oh my God, that was so funny. It was just fantastic. And the scene with all the different Spider-Mans together, if you've seen it, you know, the one toward the middle of the end, the middle end of the middle. You know what I'm talking about, right? It was just excellent. Like that was just blew me away. Let's see what else. I mean, I tried to rewatch. Okay, sorry, this is a Spider-Man tangent, but I tried to rewatch Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man because everyone tells me that I'm judging it too harshly and shit when I say that it was bad and that they loved Andrew. But that movie is not good. I watched like 20 minutes of it and I was annoyed. It was so annoying.
I don't like your opinion.
I don't know how anyone can compare that to Toby or Tom's movie. Like it was so rushed and it just wasn't set up very well.
Well, I think you should give it more than just 15 minutes of your time.
Okay, it was 20 minutes.
That's still not the whole movie. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't like the movie" if you didn't finish the fucking movie.
Well, I didn't like anything about it.
Well,
the parents' situation is done so poorly in that movie. I'm like so confused, and the setup for him to find his dad's suitcase is so dumb. He's like, "Oh, the basement's flooded. Oh, do you want anything down here?" And then like his suitcase just happens to be there.
Nicole says, I think my opinion
that was down here.
Nicole says, I think my opinion was heavily influenced by my crush on Andrew. And I would probably say the same for me. But I think so. I love that. I love him and Gwen. Like, that's my favorite part of the movie. And I just think he's so funny. And he's just so good. I just love Andrew Garfield. So, I don't know. Maybe I need to rewatch it and look at it with older eyes.
If you look at it from like a storytelling perspective, it just does not live up to any of the other Spider-Mans. I haven't gotten to like their core romance. Like he's at the factory, not the factory, the science place that she works. And that's also stupid. The way that it happens it just feels so movie in that everything feels very on the nose coincidence instead of feeling like movie coincidence, like, oh, this is fate, haha, it's a movie. It's like, oh, it's placed here for easy story moving. Like that's what it feels like to me. But it's just, yeah. What else? I watched a bunch of stuff because I was trying not to watch TV during my breaks because that gets me sucked in, and movies I can for some reason pause whenever I want. I watched Xmas on Freevee. I didn't finish it, but I was having so much fun with it because Robbie Amell, although this movie is so cheesy, I find him so good at comedy. Like his delivery saves everything, and his physical comedy, and just he has an aura of fun around him that I just love. Ever since the Duff, I'm like, oh my God, Robbie Amell. Yeah.
I love him. He's just so cute too.
He is. So I'm going to go back and finish that because I am like halfway through Xmas on Freevee. It's on Amazon Prime's Freevee thing that has commercials. We both saw the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I missed the last 40 minutes, but I saw the majority of it and I've read the book. Natasha, do you want to share your thoughts?
I mean, it was so good. I only read,
so good.
I only read like the first hour of the book, and it like couldn't keep me enticed. And then the movie, the whole time I'm like, it's President Snow, it's President Snow. Like, don't think he's cute. Like, don't think like that was me the whole time. And then like,
okay. You're like the opposite of me, who was like, I hate them. I hate him so much. I'm just sitting there like writhing in my anger. Like Natasha's like, are you okay? I'm like, I just hate him. I just hate him so much. I can't.
Uh, yeah, I know. Sophie said the book was long, but it really conveyed how delusional and insane he is. And like, I think I do need to go back and like listen to it and actually, it'll probably give me a whole other viewpoint. But the movie was so well done. Like the actual, I just was having such
The direction was really great.
Yes, and it's so different, and like you can tell that it is like 65 years away from Katniss's story, and I was just like having such an interesting time, like juxtaposing everything that we knew from the Hunger Games to like what this era is now, and also like watching the Hunger Games and how they dealt with that, because I just rewatched the Hunger Games and Catching Fire this week as well, because I was like in my Hunger Games era again. And it's just so brutal. It's so brutal, and it's terrible to watch. It's way worse than the first Hunger Games. Oh my goodness. But I'm not gonna lie. Like I had the tingling feelings of watching it, like because you can't hear his inner monologue. I was like, oh, look at this. They might have like a little, but you just know it's gonna end really, really terribly, and it did end really terribly. And it was hard. Okay, it was hard to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing. This is how I wanted the Hunger Games to be filmed. Like, this hurt to watch. Watching those games was painful. Like, I was such an anxiety bubble the whole time. And I knew like the moment there's an explosion moment, and like I knew it was coming, and the whole time I was like I was just waiting, because it's like I know it's gonna happen, and I don't know when. And in the movie, like everyone was like, it was scary as fuck.
Yeah.
And it was so loud. You're in it in this way that it's like so disturbing. Like it's so clear that it's so disturbing. And the Hunger Games, when I watched it, I remember feeling so out of it. Like you can't see anything. The camera's whooshing around. And again, it's quiet. Yeah. And I know what the director was thinking. Like, they don't want us to be the capital. They don't want us to feel like we're being entertained by children being slaughtered. But then you don't get the impact of how terrible it is, because you can't see it. So it feels very censored in a way, in that destroys the point of like what the book is telling us, like how terrible we are for wanting to see this. Like you can't really gauge that because you can't see it. Okay, so when you read the book, especially if you've dealt with a raging narcissist in your own life, like it's very triggering being in the head of Snow, who is a fucking raging narcissist, like growing into one that gets worse and worse. Like the way he thinks that he's doing something that is right when he's doing horrible things. Like when he will twist the thinking in a way that makes sense to him, that he's a good person, when really he's being horrible. And it's so hard to get through. I had to stop reading that book and get the audiobook halfway through, because I was such an anxious wreck trying to read it. And it just gets worse and worse, man.
That definitely was not portrayed, because you kind of felt some compassion for him at points, like where like he needs this money, like his family needs this money, and then it's being taken away, and all these things are being taken away from him. So I don't think that was really portrayed well enough to know that he is like a raging narcissist internally. But like you can't like towards the end, when he's making all these decisions that are intentionally hurting the people around him, it's like, well, fuck you. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, what creates this type of mindset is being in a really hard situation growing up. So you learn that you have to protect yourself or no one else will. And that becomes your first and only concern in any situation for like the rest of your life, basically. Like it's this like protective instinct, but it goes to to this extent where it's, terrible.
That makes
and
a lot
cruel.
of sense.
Yeah. So in the beginning, and they did a good job showing in the beginning, like the war very quickly, what they went through. They were starving in the streets of Panam
Capital,
when
yeah.
the war was going on because the districts cut off all of their trading. So weren't getting any food or anything. So that, and then, yeah, that's why in the beginning it's very broken down. And that's why the Hunger Games start in the first place, because they starved everyone in the capital, all of the districts, to get them to surrender. Yeah. So, anyway, the movie was horrifying and it was so good.
A lot of people in our comments were saying that, like, can we discuss how Hunter Schafer dressed as the Capitol member for Halloween, and then she ended up as Tigress? Melissa says, I want more information on Tigress now, how she'd end up being a costumer and then shunned by her cousin. So I feel like
Well,
even
Tigress
though, like,
was empathetic.
yeah, I feel like I want more movies in the Hunger Games world. A lot of people were like, I would like to see like Finnick's story. Even though, like, again, he has a tragic ending too. I don't know, like, maybe he's more on Tigress. Yeah, Melissa says, I want Johanna's. Like, I feel like there could be more. And
yeah, they're good. There's so many Hunger Games we haven't seen. Like, so many main characters in the 75th Hunger Games that don't get their full story. We only get droplets of it. And it's, yeah, even Tigress, like, she had clearly a long journey. By the end, she was completely working with the rebels. And Choreo is president and her cousin, you know? So what happened there? We watched Mockingjay Part 2, and she said that she wasn't allowed to be one of the fashion people for the games anymore when she wasn't pretty enough, when Snow says she wasn't pretty enough anymore, which is, I don't know. It's like it's almost a throwaway line until we get this book, and then it's like, huh? What actually happened? She could just be saying that because she doesn't want to go into it. But yeah, there's so much in that world to dig into, and it's all like super profound because it is this dark mirror of our own world and the corporate world and how and capitalism and all that shit. So yeah, it's almost like I feel like we can only take so much at once. Just like with the Hunger Games, by the time we watched the Mockingjay Part 1 and Part 2 the first time, we weren't as tuned in because it was so intensely devastating that you kind of shut yourself off to it a little bit. Because the world was already so fucked up. And so now we have a taste of it, and I feel like we'll need a break. I do really love these actors, though. I've just been following, like, Rachel and what's the guy who plays Snow? Like, he looks completely different in real life without the blonde hair, so I can separate it. Tom Blythe or something. I can separate the two in my head. And Tom Blythe, I'm like, oh, I like him. And then I see him as Snow. I'm like, oh, fucking, I'm gonna tear him apart.
I saw, like, the very end of that movie. I'm like, oh my gosh, he could be like, he could be Draco Malfoy. Like,
he could, like, he is, very Draco Malfoy, like, looking. Draco, though, I feel like is way more empathetic than Snow.
Oh, for sure. I just meant like the look and like what he was wearing.
Yes.
Yeah, no, everything that they've been putting out on social media, there's like this dance that Tom was doing, and he's first he was like, like he was on the floor and then easily could get up. I'm like, wow, that man has control over every muscle in his body. But and then did you see what he wore to the premiere? He wore like a black like tank top and then black slats. It was a look, and it was good. It was a good look.
Yeah, I didn't even clock it because I was just looking at what Rachel was wearing.
Yeah, I loved her dress. So I found out on, just real quick, we'll end with this, but I found out on TikTok that she initially did not want the role, that she turned it down and said, I don't want to do it, because it was in the middle of the pandemic, and she had been very isolated and very lonely filming Snow White for like 6 months, and hadn't seen her family. And then she turned it down because it would mean she would have 3-day turnover and then film again in the middle of the pandemic in Germany for another like 5-6 months. And so she wasn't going to be able to see her family for an entire year. And so she said, no, I can't do that. Like, I just want to go home. So she initially turned it down because she was so lonely. And then she found out that her boyfriend was cast. And then she called the director and was like, hey, do you still need someone for Lucy Gray? As they were like trying to fill this spot and they couldn't find anyone. And he was like, yes. And he was so relieved.
I heard, I guess, a completely different side of the story from Rachel telling the story, but she and her family together read during COVID A Ballad of Songbirds Snakes. And they only had one book, so they would like take turns reading it. And her mom and sister read it first, and they were like, you have to play Lucy Gray. Like, this, you have to do it. Like, this is your role. So I feel like they definitely played a part in her
convincing her
taking the role as well. Yeah. But yeah, it was really well done. All right. Before we go into our main discussion, I need to take a quick second and thank all of y'all listening out there. We are so thankful for you being here with us. We are so thankful for you interacting with us on socials. If you don't know, we are at Those Working Fangirls on Instagram, on TikTok. We have a visual show on YouTube, youtube.com/@thoseworkingfangirls. You can watch every single episode instead of listening, if that is your preferred way to engage with the content we're putting out. And you can subscribe there for free so you never miss an episode on YouTube. Or you can follow the podcast on your favorite podcast app for free so you never miss an episode. We really appreciate that. It really helps us out. And we also, if you want to support the show in a bigger way, we have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/@thoseworkingfangirls. We offer a lot of cool perks over there, and we're really proud of the content we put out. We do an extra half an hour show every week at the $5 tier, and that's called Fangirl Tea Time. We talk more like stories about stuff going in our personal lives and more in-depth conversations that maybe are just a little too personal for the main show. We love our community over there. There's also a $10 tier and a $15 tier where we do fangirl bonding sessions every single month on Zoom. We love that. You could also fill out a form to be on the show. We bring on a listener every single month. It's a time, and we are so, so grateful for everyone over there in that community. This is a listener-supported show. We could not do it without you. And if you don't know, if you want to gift yourself the Patreon, there's an annual subscription option where you get a 15% discount, I believe it is. And that's about a month for free, a month and a half for free. And yeah, you can subscribe that way and save a little bit of money, or you can do month to month. And we just are so grateful because that's why we can do this. All right.
Yeah.
We're going to roll into our main discussion finally. Today, we're doing our countdown of the top 10 TV shows of 2023. And I don't know about you, but I feel like this was a sparser year for good television, at least that I encountered, because I had about like a total of 14 that I could remember. What about you?
I had like 20.
Okay. You watched more. You watched all those Apple shows that I didn't get to. But let's start from number 10 and we will work our way back up. And then at the end, we're just going to quickly mention our honorable mentions because just for time, we're going to do it that way instead of doing the honorable mentions first. We're going to move into our top 10 TV shows. All right, Natasha, hit us with your number 10. Let's get this party started.
Woo woo. Okay, so number 10 is Sanditon season 3, and this is a masterpiece classic. It was a Jane Austen's last and unfinished novel. We campaigned so hard.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. We campaigned so
Sanditon?
hard for I think, wait, was it season 3 or season 4? I can't remember. The last season, okay? It's the final season of Sanditon. And they gave it to us because they canceled it, and then we made it happen because we were like, what the fuck? Bring it back. And
So the fans did a petition or something?
there was a lot going on. There was more than a petition. There was a huge, it was called the Sanditon Sisterhood. We I tried to promote it as much as I could, like between like the years of like 2020 to now. Like they even made this huge sand sculpture in the beach where it was filmed. It was a lot, okay? Like the fans did so much to try to like get the attention of the BBC to bring it back, and they did. And we got a final season, and it was glorious and so romantic. Like if you want something that is like lighthearted and kind of on like Bridgerton-esque, but not as like saucy or steamy, Sanditon is like your show. You should definitely watch it.
Where do you watch it?
Masterpiece, you have to get it, it's on Amazon, I think Prime, but I think the newest season is on Masterpiece, which you have to subscribe to, but you can always just cancel it. I think they have like a trial or something. Yeah, if you're into all that stuff, definitely watch Sanditon. It's one of my favorite period dramas out there because it's just so good. So that's my number 10. Christine, what's yours?
Nice. All right. Well, real quick before we go off of that. So Jane Austen died writing Sanditon?
Yeah. Yes, she did not finish it.
Oh.
And so they kind of just took everything about that show. About the book, and then just went with it. They expanded it. She has another book that like Kate Beckinsale brought to TV as well. It was like Friends and Lovers or something. I don't know. It wasn't very good. But it was like another one of her like last like short stories. But this was her last unfinished. It was like Tolkien's like Silmarillion type of situation where like her ancestor, like her family was able to bring it and get it published and things like in that sort of way.
Nice. Mm-hmm. All right. My number 10. This was so hard because I have like an 11 and 12 that I really enjoyed too and thought should be on the list,
Same.
but they didn't make it because I don't love them as much as this one. But I had to get the last season of Ted Lasso on the list because I just love everything it stands for so much. It's all about the power of kindness, and it's done in such a cheerful, heartwarming way. The third season was a little rocky in terms of like the connective storytelling of different characters. We kind of jumped around a little bit, and it didn't all come together, this different storylines. It was more episodic at different moments, which is not my favorite, but it all culminated in such a beautiful end. Like I cried and laughed and felt so warm and fuzzy, and I really loved. So after I watched the final episode, I rewatched the first season, and there's just so many parallels and full circle moments from the first episode and the last episode. And I fucking love that so much. It's so sweet. It's such a great show. It's on Apple TV Plus. If you haven't tried out Ted Lasso yet, like you can't not like Ted Lasso. It's one of those. Like it's so lovable. And my mom's watching it right now, and they're really enjoying it. It's so funny. I'm always like, where are you? She's like, I don't know, but we really like it. Like, what's happening in the story? And she's like, something with Ned. But it's so wonderful. So that's my number 10. It's the final season, and I'm sad to see it go, but they did a really good job with it.
Yeah.
Right.
My favorite part about, because I have it on my honorable mentions because I knew you were going to talk about it. My favorite part of the last season was Rebecca's storyline. and like I just love her as a character. I love that actress too. She has a whole like holiday special on
love her
Apple
too.
TV right now that I really want to watch with some of the
Yes, I
Ted
just saw
Lasso
it.
guys. Yeah. So I don't know. I love her storyline, and I wanted to see more of that actress. She's amazing.
All the actors on that show are so
know.
fucking lovable. I loved, what's the tough guy's name who's a coach?
Oh,
Fuck. I'm already forgetting their names. But you know what I'm talking about. Like the guy who's like, Roy, yes, Roy. I love Roy's arc in the 3rd season. Roy and Jamie's just their bromance is so fucking beautiful.
It's
Jamie
so
Tart. I love Jamie Tart's arc. It's so fucking beautiful. What is the song? Jamie Tart, Jamie Tart, Jamie Tart, Jamie Tart. Ah, I love it. Fucking heartwarming as fuck. All right. Natasha, give us number 9.
I feel bad for saying this one because it's higher up on your list. I know.
It's low for you.
I know. I didn't mean to put
Well, we
it
can talk
so
about it.
low.
Should we talk about it more intensely when we get to the high one?
Yeah. Okay, so my number 9
Okay.
is Summer I Turned Pretty season 2. It's so good. it was so sad, you guys, because I'll say this one thing before we go into more in depth, that it came out during the strike because we couldn't fucking talk about it.
I know. That's why I want to talk about it extensively when I get to it.
Yeah. The only reason why it's so low is because I put a lot of like new TV, like new seasons up higher. I don't know why, but that's what I did.
Yeah, I'm surprised. All right. So my number 9, okay, it's on your list higher, is Queen Charlotte, which I just thought was done so well. I think a lot of us were a little trepidatious going into like a prequel series for Bridgerton, but I think they nailed it. It gave me so many feelings, and I want more. I want more from that early time. I think it's so fascinating and satisfying to get those early backstories for these characters that are older and more on the outskirts of the story in Bridgerton. If you haven't watched it yet, dude, it's good. It's good. And it's so sexy. It's so sexy. The chemistry between the two leads is so good. I love their scenes together.
Yeah, I'm like,
all
I
right.
have so much to say.
Natasha's going to talk about it more when we get to her higher on her list. But that is my number 9, Queen Charlotte. Natasha, 8.
Okay, number 8 is The Bear season 2. The Bear is a Hulu show. And Alex had watched the first season, and I was kind of like there when I was watching it. I was like, yeah. So it's about this guy who is a chef, and he had, I think like a depressive episode, and he kind of went back home and started working, or something happened, like a big scandal happened. He was working in this really, really like, Michelin star, like 3-star, 1-star, 3-star, one of those Michelin star restaurants. Had to go back to his family restaurant, and then that's the first season of him is working at a restaurant with his family, and kind of like in this little town of Boston, in a little like outside of Boston. And I wasn't really too interested in that because I was like, yeah. I feel like I've seen this scenario before. The second season, we had more female characters, which is what I was lacking in the first season. The second season is them opening up a Michelin star restaurant. And this show, if you guys like, it is so good. Cause I just like the whole journey of them opening it up and the family that's involved. We have like a crazy, actors.
You've hooked me more. I might start watching today.
Yeah, no, we have these like someone like Jamie Lee Curtis shows up as his mom in this one insane episode of a Christmas episode, and that episode lives rent free in my mind. That way that she acted in that was insane. There was like some other huge cameos. I don't even want to talk about because it's like so fun for you to be like, what
Don't tell me. Don't tell me.
Yeah. And it's just like just the acting, the storyline in the second season. Like, you truly don't need to watch the first season if it doesn't hook you. Like, just watch the second season. Alex had watched it, and then I think I was sewing, and I was like, wait, I want to watch this. Stop watching. And so then he watched it all the way through, and then we watched it all the way through together once I was done with my project. Yeah, so Nicole says, interesting, I didn't make it past the first season because it made me too anxious. And that's how I felt too. Like, I think like you don't need to watch the first season. Just watch the second season. You can kind of get like a taste of the characters in like the first episode and the last episode of the first season if you can't make it through. But it's so fun and high energy, a lot of high energy because there's a lot of like high stakes and then trying to get this restaurant open. And it's really satisfying, the payoff.
I have such a hard time watching TV out of order. Like, the storyteller in me is like, I gotta make it through the first season. But like, I think that's why I didn't watch it, because everyone was talking about how the first season made them so anxious. But I want to watch it. Like, everyone's talking about the bear, and now that I have a better idea what season 2 is about, I want to see it.
Yeah. I'm pretty bad about skipping seasons and watching things because they make me feel like I did the same thing in Game of Thrones. Like, I skipped the middle of Game of Thrones because it made me too anxious, and I just kept going.
Yeah. What about the first season makes you anxious? Is it like the depression? Is it like the tone?
I think it's the depression, the depression and the tone, because he's just so low, and like he's just fallen so far, and you don't really feel like there's nowhere to go because he's just like in this restaurant where he's, I don't know. And then you finally get some hope. Like, that's the second season is hope.
Okay.
So I feel like that's the emotional journey you kind of have to take.
Yeah. All right. I'm excited to hopefully be able to watch it. Maybe I'll just skip to the second season if I can't handle it, because I really want to watch the Michelin star restaurant thing.
It's really fun.
Emily in Paris really has whet my palate for like the Michelin star restaurant journey.
Yes.
All right. My number 8. So that was Natasha's number 8. Coming in at 8 for me is the final season of Sex Education, season 4, that came out a couple months ago. It had such a beautiful end. I loved it so much. And Sex Education is one of my comfort shows. Like, I've gone back and rewatched every single season and just felt so cozy and happy doing so. I love these characters. It's so bright. The way that it's shot, the cinematography, it's so bright and happy, and again, it's so cozy for me. This show doesn't have a name that sounds like it's going to be cozy or fun to anyone who hears it. Like, when I'm like, oh, you have to watch Sex Education, they're like, what the hell is that about? Like, it's about a high school and this kid. His mom's a sex therapist, and he is really good at therapizing people from growing up with his sex therapist mom. And at the high school, they're not teaching anything about sex. So he and a business savvy friend, who is the girl who looks like Margot Robbie, end up opening basically like a student sex therapy business at school. And he really helps a lot of kids learn more about their sexuality and solve their problems. And of course, this ends up causing a problem, because you can't be a sex therapist if you're not a licensed sex therapist. It's so funny and so sweet. it's so wholesome, even though it's like about sex. And it just really goes to show that like sex shouldn't be this like taboo, scary thing, that it's so much better to embrace it and teach people about it in a way that is kind and welcoming and just doesn't scare you from it, because making it taboo is what causes all these issues. It's what causes teenage pregnancy and bad things to happen, people to be in situations where they don't know how to handle different things. Ugh, it's so sweet. Anyway, it's all like happiness. If you haven't watched Sex Education and you want a happy show, like watch Sex Education.
There's a lot. Now, I do have to put a disclaimer. There's a lot of like just sex as like I put on season 2 or season 3 with Alex in the room, and it was just full like blowjobs in the first episode, and
Well,
Alex
okay,
is like,
this is what
"Whoa,
happens."
Whoa, and I'm like, I know, sorry, I didn't know.
Every opening scene is like as a couple having sex in one way or another, and then like usually some sort of issue will come up between the two of them, and that kind of issue will be explored in the episode. But it usually opens up every episode with a sex scene, whether it's masturbation or someone having sex.
Yeah, yes. And just to watch it with like anyone that you're not comfortable with in the room.
Yeah, it's like a by yourself comfort show. Like, it's one of those things that like I don't even remember that until you said it, because I'm watching it by myself and the characters are just so strong. Like everyone, you love every person in the show, you know. You grow to be so connected to all of them.
Not to mention that almost the entire cast is also in the Barbie movie, so if you like the Barbie movie, you'll like Sex Education.
I feel like they're very different. That's not a correlation.
I just thought it was hilarious as I was watching the Barbie movie. I'm like, why are half of these people in Sex Education? I'm so confused.
Because they know the same people and they like to work together, obviously. But I've seen that happen with so many different things. It's just like the whole Sex Education cast is also in Emma. Like they just kept popping up, and I was like, what are they doing here? But they must be close friends, and they when they have a project, they're like, oh, come on, I want you to play this person and this person, which is so cool. Like, I love that idea that they love to work together so much.
Yeah.
All right. Seven. What is your 7? Speaking of Sex Education, what a great transition.
My number 7 is Ahsoka, which was on Disney Plus this year. And this was another one that happened in the middle of the strike. And it's so good. So here's the thing. I do love most of the Star Wars shows on Disney Plus. Some of them can be a little slow and dragging. This one in particular, I don't know much about this character. I didn't really watch. I watched some because she comes from the animated series Clone Wars, where Ahsoka. It's not Ashoka. It's Ahsoka.
Oh, Ahsoka. Oh,
yes, believe me,
I've been looking at the spelling and I pronounced it wrong. Sorry.
So Ahsoka is Anakin's Padawan from in between episode 2 and episode 3. And
what's a Padawan?
Just Padawan is like the Jedi's like trainee. So you know how Anakin was Obi-Wan's
like your mentor. You're a mentor for them.
Yeah, he's a she was a mentee. So like how Anakin was Obi-Wan's Padawan in episode 1 or in episode 2, the Clone Wars, where he had this little braid, his little Padawan braid.
Okay.
So he got a Padawan that we didn't know about in the movies, but they expanded upon it in the animated series. And Alex has watched all the animated stuff, and I have seen things here and there. And then so we had the Clone Wars, which was took place in between episode 1 and episode 2, and then we had Star Wars Rebels, which took place after episode 3 when Anakin was freshly Darth Vader. And so we had the new force of that time where, you know, Luke and Leia were growing up, and we had people rebelling against like Darth Vader and the Imperium. Why am I blanking? Anyways, so that's Ahsoka. We've only seen her animated, and then she popped up in The Mandalorian, and now she gets her own live action TV show. One of my favorite things about the Star Wars television shows is that it expands on these characters, but then also gets you really, really excited because they draw back to the movies in very creative and like little ways that you're like, oh my gosh, wait, that is from this, and then that's from that. Well, because that is what kind of drives us. And that's what I think like Marvel is really missing, is that they don't have these little kernels that kind of drive these
Easter
TV
eggs.
shows strings and that pull us forward or pull us back into the main timeline of the movies. And I think Ahsoka did that really well by expanding this universe. And even like, you know, drawing to the Mandalorian and things like that, or referencing things that are also happening at the same time. And it just gets you really, really excited. Not to mention like the characters were so well thought out and so well rounded. And there's just always that very interesting push to light or dark that everyone in the Star Wars universe is always kind of dealing with. And that's kind of like what we got. And there was also like a huge, if you didn't watch Rebels, there was a character death that we thought that wasn't really resolved, and it was resolved in the show, and that was also very exciting. So it was just a really great show, and we got a female lead and like a couple of like really badass female leads, and it was just so well done. And I was just, every episode I was shooketh.
I'm glad there was a really good Star Wars show with female leads. I feel like
Yes.
that's severely lacking. So,
Aside from Daisy Ridley.
excited. Yes.
Well,
All
and
right,
Princess Leia. Princess Leia. We have to give it to Princess Leia and Padme. Sorry, I don't want to not say
well,
them.
Padme, did she have much of a role?
Not really. She just wore really great costumes. But Princess Leia. Okay,
Yeah.
your number 7.
All right. My number 7 is, of course, Survivor. It's been on my list every year I've ever done this. It's so good. And this year we got such a great season. Season 44 was my favorite of the new era that we've had so far. So fun, so good. And I'm enjoying season 45. Oh my God, the numbers are getting all tangled up. This is Survivor's issue in this new era from season 41 on. They're not giving them themes, which I'm just done with. Like, I want themes back because that's so much easier to remember a season when it's like millennials versus Gen X, heroes versus villains, beauty versus brawn versus brains. Like, give it a theme. They're so fun. And the numbers are getting old. All right. Season 4, I'm from Survivor season 43. Like, that's not going to stick in our heads forever. I need a name. And it's so much more fun when there's like a thing like, oh, this season we're doing David versus Goliath. Like, it's so much more catchy, I feel, to a new audience to have a theme. And I don't know why they are not bringing that back next season. I hope they do. Anyway, didn't mean for this to turn into a rant about themes, but Survivor's great. I love it. Speaking of Survivor, my new book is a Survivor-esque rom-com called Attached to the Hip that comes out May 21st, 2024. And it's available for pre-order now. Links in the show notes. But seriously, I love Survivor. If you haven't watched any Survivor yet, I can help you with a guide of which seasons are the best if you want to start from the beginning. I've got those on lock. Just right off the top of my head, I would start with season 2, not season 1. They're all on Paramount Plus. And they're also on other streamers too. Streamers, like they were on Prime for a while. I don't know if they're still there, but you can find them scattered about. They're so good.
I
All
watched
right.
my first Survivor episodes this year, and I did enjoy them.
Yay! Yeah, you really gotta like do season 2 and then season 6 and 7 and 8.
Yes, I know. I will.
Yes. 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 All right. What is we have the same number 6.
Oh,
and
shoot.
It correlates really nice.
Oh, shoot. I literally didn't even think when I put it down. All right. Our number 6 is Daisy Jones and the Six on Amazon.
Woo! Daisy Jones and the Six. Oh,
I need to
the
rewatch it.
adaptation of Taylor Jenkins Reid's. Me too. I was just thinking about that. I was like, I wanted to wait till I like had kind of forgotten some of it before rewatching it. Oh, it was excellent.
It was so good. When did this one come out? It came out. We were talking about it, right?
It was
on
early.
the show.
It was like March or
May?
February, I feel like. Oh, I thought it was March or February, but
Oh,
maybe it was April
March
or
or-
May. I don't know.
Maybe it was March.
No, May was the writer's strike already, so I don't know if we were talking about it then. I feel like it was early. But whenever it was this year, and it was so good. And Finnick Odair plays the lead, and he's fantastic.
Yep.
He really kills it. Like, he's so good in this adaptation. I loved him.
So this was like a Hello Sunshine, right? Like Reese brought
Yes.
it to us. The entire
Production,
cast was fantastic. We had like Suki Waterhouse, who is now pregnant. We didn't talk about that. Fuck. Suki
With Rob's
and
child!
Rob they're pregnant. They're having a baby.
Confirmed.
So she's in it. Riley
Very
Keough.
well. Especially, Riley Keough. Especially in the scenes where she was like losing it. I thought she did a really good job.
Yeah, so she is Elvis Presley's granddaughter. She's amazing. I really enjoyed her performance. Also, her hair was fantastic. All the wardrobe was really, really great, and the makeup and the hair.
So good.
Yes.
It was perfect.
Okay, the actress who played Camilla Alvarez is also named Camilla Morone.
She's a star.
A star. I was obsessed with her. Like, I want to see her in so many other new things. I forgot about Camilla and like the journey and like that character. It was devastating, and also she's just an amazing character, and I loved her.
She really brought her to life. On the page, feels
Very
not
flat.
as three-dimensional as she does in the screen. Like I felt for her, and I appreciated her relationship with Sam when I read the book, but when I saw it, like I was so in it with her. You feel so much more watching her performance than you do when you read the book.
And also all the music. I
Fucking
saved them-
amazing music.
I know.
Yeah.
I need to. I forgot about the music.
same time.
I forgot about the songs. I
so
need to
good.
start re-listening
It's
to
so
them
good.
again because they were in my head.
I listened to them on loop. Like, it was while I was writing, so I was listening to them a lot. And I would just always have that one in my head that was like, how did we get here? How does that one go again? Like, you know what I'm talking about, right? How did we get here? Where do we go? Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Na-na-na.
Yep.
Yeah, I gotta listen to the album again.
The one that everyone wanted them to sing, but they never sang. That was the one that was stuck. So
So
good.
fucking
It's on
good.
Amazon if you haven't watched it. Or, it's also a book too. Highly recommend the audiobook.
The book is so good. The audiobook is top notch.
All right.
Let's move on to number 5. Natasha, what is at 5 for you?
5 is...
I also like, We just had Daisy Jones and 6 as 6, and you have say your 5.
Is Gen V. V is the Roman numeral for 5.
Yeah,
right?
and V is 5 in Roman numerals.
Wow, I don't know what my brain last night was doing, but that's what it did. Okay, so Gen V is a spin-off show from The Boys. It is on Amazon. I always usually have The Boys on my list because I just think it's just so clever and smart and terrible and amazing all at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think it is the smartest way and what we should be doing with our superhero media at this time, because we've just been consuming so many superheroes and
So overloaded with it.
so overloaded. And it's just I love this take on it because it feels so real. Like if people had all these crazy superpowers, this is what they would be doing. They would be terrible and evil behind closed doors. It's also like just a different take on, capitalism and big businesses and what money can do to hide things. Yes. So
yeah.
Gen V is kind of the college take on the whole thing, and it is about this academy that superpowered college kids can attend to hone their powers and to get a degree and hopefully maybe be one of the superheroes to be in the 6. So that is like the big superhero team that is like commercialized. There's movies and things and merchandise all are like for these superpowered humans. And so we follow a group of college students, and of course they have to unpack this everything that's going around them, but there's like this underlying evilness in the academy that they are trying to figure out what it is, and using their powers together individually. There's romance, there's evilness, there's
Everything we
backstabbing,
like.
there's everything, and it's just as good as The Boys. And I hope that these characters, that we'll see them in The Boys, or maybe they'll just have like their own storyline for a bit, but I don't know. It was really good. So if you like The Boys, they could merge because there were little strings that they started. If you like The Boys, you should definitely watch Gen V. Don't let the like college thing sway you. I mean, Alex is like, oh, this is just like a teenage drama. I'm like, yeah, but it's still good.
College thing by nature is not teenage for most part. It's college. It's a completely different level too.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's different.
Yeah.
But
it's
I don't
also
know
really-
in any world also. Oh,
What?
shit. No, go ahead.
Oh, it's also like really intense too. There's a lot of like crazy sexual exploits that happen in this show. It is not for the faint of heart. It's also very gory.
The Boys is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Nope. And I don't know in any world where you would like go into like something like Gen V knowing it was made by the people who made The Boys and be like, it's going to be a teeny bopper show. No, it is not.
No, it's not.
It is going to hurt.
All
All right,
Christine.
My number 5 is a beloved show, I think, from both of us. It's not on your list.
Well, I know
but-
you're going to talk about it.
All right, is my number 5. I fucking love this show so much. The final season aired this year, and that is The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, which is on Amazon Prime. It is created by Amy Sherman Palladino, who created Gilmore Girls, and it is just so fantastic. It's so beautifully shot. Like Amy really got to like stretch her wings and fly in this series in terms of like cinematography and sets and costuming and just creating a world. It takes place for the most part during the 60s. I think like the first season is like 1959 or something, and then we're in the 60s, and it is this young woman who is like in her late 20s. She has 2 kids, she's married, and we open up and her husband has like aspirations to be a comedian, so she's helping him like with his set. And we open up when we find out that like he's cheating on her, and she's like, fuck this. Like, I am a perfect wife. His set is basically all jokes she's made up. And so she gets really drunk and she ends up at the comedy house that they always go to, and she does an off the cuff 10-minute set. And then she starts down the path of going into comedy because she's really good. She's really funny. She's the person that should be pursuing this career path. And it is her journey as a woman in the late 50s, early 60s, trying to be a comedian, which is such a male overrun world where women really aren't welcome. It's such a sexist society still. And it's the journey of her and her parents as she pursues this, and her ex-husband and her romantic, endeavors. It's so freaking good. It's so funny. It's so well done. The relationships are so good, so profound. Like by the end, like her journey with her parents is so moving. I like her dad, her relationship with him. It's just so good. And of course there's so much fantastic dialogue because it's an Amy Sherman Palladino show. Like they talk at the speed of light and it's amazing.
I just have to also say, like, her costumes, the style of the show is just fantastic. It's set in the 1950s, 60s.
The 60s.
Yeah, and she is just so beautiful. I love looking at her, and like just her hair and the beautiful things that they put her in. Everything about that show is just so stylistic and wonderful.
Yeah. This was the final season, and they really brought it home so perfectly. Like that final episode is so good. Like I'm tearing up just thinking about it. I want to watch it again. They did such a good job with it. There were so many fucking great moments in this last season too, like hilarious moments. And I just love Midge so much. And
me too.
Feel for her journey. And I feel like I learned so much with her throughout the journey. And I really, really loved watching it. So if you haven't watched Mrs. Maisel, highly recommend. Like 5 fantastic seasons just sitting there ready to be binged.
They can binge them.
Right. Yes. Well, take us into your number 4, Natasha. We're getting to it. The top 3 are looming. What is your number 4?
Number 4 is Queen Charlotte. Christine already talked about this. Last year I had Bridgerton season 2 at my number 1, and I was so excited for Queen Charlotte. This one, though, it was a little bit more devastating, and it hurt my heart to watch. It gave me all of the emotions, a lot of sad ones, a lot of it was a little hard to watch. There was some torturing going on that was really rough, and just the way, I don't know, the way that these 2 characters were able to find love, it was amazing. I feel like I've said amazing so many times. But I knew it was going to be great. I couldn't wait to watch it, and it was. And the actors that they picked to play the younger versions of Queen Charlotte were so on point, so perfectly cast. The India who plays Queen Charlotte, it is insane that she looks just
She's
like
perfect.
Yes, just like the actress who plays her in Bridgerton, and I could not get over that. And yeah, it was sexy, it was romantic, it was tragic, it was all the things. I still have not been able to rewatch it because I'm like I need to be in like the nice headspace, because it's yes, we have like a good ending, but it still makes me so sad at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You
so
kind of
good.
go in knowing that it's going to end
Oh,
a certain way
yeah.
because you know the characters in Bridgerton, but it's so beautiful being there for the journey.
I know. All right,
All
you're
right.
number 4.
My number 4 is also at the top of your list here. It's Heartstopper. I finally watched Heartstopper this year, and season 2 came out right around my birthday, and it was just the most heartwarming, wonderful experience watching it. Like, if you haven't watched Heartstopper, it's a big, fuzzy hug of feelings, of warm, cozy, loving feelings. And the lead characters are so endearing and you're rooting for them so hard, and they always choose kindness. And I love that about it. Like, it never gets too rough in terms of like the emotional journey between our two characters. There's so many moments where it could go down this like dramatic mean route where like the characters like realize that they were mean and stuff, but like they always choose kindness, they always choose communication, and I fucking love that.
Yeah. I never thought of it that way. Wow. Maybe that's why it feels so safe, this show. And
Yes, it is.
yeah, do I just talk about it now? I guess I'm just talking. So Heartstopper.
Yeah, go for it. Talk about it now.
Heartstopper is my number 2. We don't know what number 3, number 1 is yet. So Heartstopper is my number 2. I watched season 1 and season 2. I binged them together. I remember I tried watching Heartstopper like the first season, and I couldn't get like past the first or 2 episodes. So I was like, oh, nothing's happening. I want things to happen. I was getting frustrated. Well, I was like, I was in a better mindset, and I sat there and I just took it all in. And oh my, it truly is. It encompassed that like young crush, young love so wonderfully.
Yes.
I had so many butterflies watching when they first kiss, and the whole time it's like just like
I know.
like feet kicking, giggling. It is, oh my gosh, it is so cute. And
It literally is like that full on giddy feeling. That whole episode, you're like, oh.
So good. And like the guys, like Nick, the guy who plays Nick gets like full beefy in the second season. I'm like, oh, he's hot. And then the other character, why am I blanking on his name? Charlie is just adorable. Just adorable. They both are.
So cute. Yeah, they're both so cute.
Yeah, and
I
then
love
all
it
the
so
other.
much too. I can't wait for the next season.
I know. I need to rewatch it again because I think I was watching it when I was in the midst of trying to finish Taylor Swift outfits and my family was here, and I just couldn't wait to have time to like watch the next episode. It was like one of those things where I'm like, it was like midnight and I'm on my phone watching it. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, I want to rewatch it because I've only seen it once, and I know it's going to be so fun to rewatch. Oh, they're just so precious. They are so precious.
Very precious.
All right, what is your number 3?
My top 3 is The Last of Us on HBO. This was a highly anticipated show this year. This is one of those things where like my brother played the game. This is one of the only video games I have watched besides like Halo, or I played, that I knew about the show. I knew about certain things, and I was also anticipating it with him. It was incredible, amazing. We love Pedro. We love Pedro's daddy era. The show was the show was icky and icky in like the best way, but also it was
I was
like
that's a weird way to describe it.
it was icky in like that way where you're like, I don't want this shit to ever happen to me. And it's just like, then you had to sit there and watch it and you're like, oh my gosh. Like the first episode of that show was intense. And then we had like wonderful episodes where we had that whole episode with the two guys. Why am I blanking?
It was like episode 3. Everyone talked about it, but
Yeah.
I didn't see I couldn't watch the first episode, so I never got to it.
Hold on. Let me bring it up. Oh, well, yeah. Frank and Bill, Frank and something, with Nick Offerman. That episode was amazing. If you haven't watched it, at least watch that episode. I think it's episode 3 or episode 4. But I'm excited for season 2. Hopefully we'll get it in sometime in the near future. It was a survival show, and it's one of my favorite tropes, which is like the father figure and the young girl, and it's like very protective of her. Yeah. I just love that journey, and I loved watching it week to week, and hopefully I can watch it. I really want to rewatch that one again because I feel like there's so many little things, and they go on this huge journey that it's kind of just hard to kind of put in your mind because it happens over such a vast period of time.
All
What's your number
right.
3?
My number 3 is The Summer I Turned Pretty, season 2. I got completely obsessed with The Summer I Turned Pretty this summer. Like, I just completely, I rewatched the first season, fell in love with it, and I realized why I love it so much, which I didn't gauge the first time, like why it's so like cozy and nostalgic for me. It's because like I would go down the shore every summer. Like I would have very similar like things with my family down there, and you're in this little bubble where you're kind of away from all your normal friends, and I just put 2 and 2 together like as I was watching the second season, and it was just done so well. I love all of the drama between these kids. I'm so invested, and like the drama with the parents is so moving, and it gets very sad at times, and they're dealing with really hard topics, but it's so well balanced, at least in my opinion, with the relationships that are going on that aren't sad. Like I feel like it's very well it's very even in terms of like it's not completely depressing all the time, you know what I mean? How do you feel, Natasha?
I feel the same because I feel like
it kind of bounces back and forth.
Well, Christine was watching it, and then she kind of had to give me like a warning. What's it called? Like a trigger warning because of
A
parental
trigger
death.
warning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, it's okay, thank you. And I watched it, and yes, it was triggering, but also like wasn't, because it was nicely balanced in that way where I could enjoy the other storylines while also feeling that like emotional grief with the characters as well. But they're so young and there's so much ahead of them.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
I'm just, yeah. They're just, their relationship is so strong and heartwarming that it kind of, it you still have hope rather than like falling into this hole of sadness that you can fall into when you're watching a show where these things are happening. And so the plot of this second season is that they're going to lose the house because they're going to lose the house. And their summer house. And they tried to do this sort of plot with like the Kissing Booth 3, and it was horrific. Like came off it was so stupid, and it came off so privileged and so annoying, and it's so different watching it done well in The Summer I Turned Pretty, where you really understand these characters. There's so much depth to the situation, and you know the house. Like, we lived it in season 1, like their experience every summer, and so we have a basis for what their summers have been like all the way up to this point. Whereas like with something like The Kissing Booth, it was just like, we love this house, we go to it, believe us. Like, there was no backstory. There was nothing to go on. And I just remember thinking that like during the first episode when we found out like what the kind of arc of the season was going to be, I was like, wow, this is already 100 times more well thought out than like Kissing Booth movie.
Yeah. Well, the house is a character on its own because of, it's just, there's like double loss because it means so much to them.
Yeah, it's I rewatched every single episode right after I watched it. Like the next day I would watch it again. That's how comforting of like a show it was for me. Like that's how much I was in love with it. I've gotten in the habit of doing that with shows that I really like, and I love watching them again because I feel like it settles into me more. Like I remember more little things and pick up on different storytelling aspects. And I instantly rewatched, and then I was so sad when I like rewatched the last episode because I was like, there's no more for me to rewatch. I love that episode with the party at the house. I'm so giddy watching it. Like this is another one that I feel like really captures that time of like high school crushes and love, and college and the feelings there. And she's going to college. She's getting ready to go to college this next year or whatever, for The Summer I Turned Pretty season 3. And I just love her relationship with the two brothers. Again, it's the brother trope too. My favorite trope.
Yep. Full brother trope. I love it. Okay, wait. As you mentioned this, I keep forgetting to talk about this. There is a show coming to Netflix on December 8th called My Life with the Walter Boys, and I fucking loved this book back when I was like 14 years old.
What? Never heard of this.
Yes, I think I talked about. No, I definitely talked about it in my like early booktube era because I loved it so much. I think it was a fan fiction. I don't think I was 14. I think I was maybe 18. But it is this girl who I think it's orphaned. No, she doesn't. I think her parents send something like that. Orphaned, parents send her, whatever, some tragic way or the other. She has to go live with this family that has like 4 boys in the household. And this is the brother trope. Yes, times 1,000. Chloe says she also loves this too. Okay, Chloe said her parents died. And it's just so many shenanigans and things. It's so good. It's so good.
So it's going to be a series, is what you're saying?
It's a series. Yes.
It already is, or it's going to be. And where is it?
December 8th on Netflix.
Next week?
Next week. Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon. Wow, the instant gratification. All right. We are going so long. We have, what is your number 2? We've already talked about it. Okay, good.
Number 2 is Heartstopper. That's Heartstopper. Woo! I already talked about it. Yeah. Okay. Next.
Yes. All right. My number 2 is You season 4. I've already talked about how much I fucking love You. It's so dark though, so it's not for everyone. It's about a serial killer. It's very like the next generation's Dexter. And he's played by Penn Badgley, our lead. And You season 3 was so fantastic and shocking and wonderful and satisfying in a lot of different ways. And then, I didn't know what to expect for season 4 because he's kind of restarting in a whole new place. So he's moving to London. Oh my God, I'm forgetting his name. Why can't I think of the guy's name in You? Joe. Joe is now in London, and he's got a new name and a new identity, and he's a professor at a university, and I didn't know what to expect, and they like switched genres. It was like Taylor Swift making folklore, like they went from like what you were expecting to like a murder, full-on murder mystery, and it was like Clue, like a reimagined Clue. And I fucking love Clue so much. And I loved watching Joe play Clue. Like, I had the best time. I couldn't stop watching. It was my exact jam. Like, so Joe is a serial killer, but like people are being killed around him and he's not doing it. And he's like, what the fuck? Who killed this person? And like he's trying to, and then like we find out like someone's texting him. Like we've got some like little aspects of like what is that show with the girls got a secret? Can you
Pretty
keep
Little Liars.
it? That show, like with the little, when they would get random texts from someone that they don't know who it is. Like he's getting texts from the guy who is doing the murdering, and he's like, who is it? And we go on the ride with him, and it's so good. I was just like really blown away by how they completely like changed it up, but I still loved it just as much, because a lot of times, when you go in a completely different direction with a show, and it was like a completely different direction, like he's a serial killer, there's murdering happening, but it was like a lot of new cast and a lot of new different areas we haven't explored yet, and I fucking loved it. Highly recommend if that stuff is your jam. If it isn't, that it's another thing that's like, it's not for the faint of heart if you don't like being in the head of a serial killer who's trying to be better. This is what I love about it too. Like he's really wants to not be the way he is. That's what's endearing about Dexter,
Kill people.
He really wants to not kill people, but like there's this fucked up part of him that, loves killing people. So I'm always rooting for Joe, even though he's a fucking serial killer. They do a really good job of endearing him to you.
I can't take
All
it.
right.
I really can't. He is President Snow. He just turns everything around to why he thinks he should kill these.
Snow.
Yes, I can't take it. So Christine told me the entire plot of season 4 because I'm like, I'm not watching it.
Yes, he has a hero complex, Joe. Like, he wants to help people. And then he also has this part of him that fucking kills people, and he is not in control of it. So it makes for a very, like, fascinating storytelling experience. All right. We've made it to number 1. Drum roll, please. That's not a drum roll.
Okay.
But Natasha, hit us. What is your top TV show of 2023?
My top TV show is Silo from Apple TV. Ooh. It is their new sci-fi dystopian book to movie show with Rebecca Ferguson. It was insane and intense, and I freaking loved every single minute of this show. So like if you're in that Hunger Games like space and you like want like another dystopian, like Divergent, like what the fuck is going on? Why are these people in a fucking silo? This is your show. It's so good. I enjoyed it. It does drag in a few small places. So like if you find yourself, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it because there's like this huge intense mystery about what is actually out there, but they're all in this silo. Anyways, this season ended. I need a second season stat. And it's just and there's so many like political stuff too happening in it because there's all these different types of people in charge, and of course there's corruption within having the government. This government in this small area, and they're trying to keep things under wraps and keeping people happy, and you can't go to certain places, and It's just great. It's all the things, and there's just incredible actors too involved in it. And yeah, I highly recommend. It was definitely one of my new favorite shows this year. Like, I know we got Last of Us, which is really incredible and intense, but I felt like I hadn't seen something like Silo in a very, very long time. So this is, and I love sci-fi stuff like this. So this kind of really spoke to my heart because it was also a really big mystery that I really want to figure out, and I loved it.
Yeah, Silo is really giving Westworld.
Yeah.
I didn't finish it, but it was giving me Westworld vibes from the very beginning. Like, I wanted to know what was adding up to what, and what was it that we were missing, from the big picture. A lot of people might not know what a silo is, because I had no fucking clue, but it's this like big underground colony that they're living in because something bad happened on the surface. So it kind of has like 100 vibes too, because like the 100 starts when they're like in space on a colony because something has happened to the Earth. So we don't know if the Earth is livable, but like how they punish people is pushing them out of the colony and making them go out into the world. Yeah. And there's this camera where everyone watches them walk out, and they all just collapse and die within like 10 steps. So it's this big mystery because there's this big conspiracy of like, no, that's not, you can go outside. Like, people are out there.
And they're not allowed to have like any like modern, like they can't have cameras. And if they find things like that, then they have to give it.
Well, they don't even know about cameras.
No, they have no idea. Yeah. So it's just
there's just like drawings everywhere and like frames.
Yeah, it's really good.
I have to get back into it because I got to like episode 4. I must have been in one of those like slow moments that you mentioned, because I was really enjoying it, but then like I kind of like got distracted and stopped watching because it was going a little slow. So I have to give it another chance and finish the season.
Yeah,
all right.
It has a really great end, so I definitely just push through if you hit those like little laggy moments.
Yeah, I think I was on like episode 4 or something. But I shall push through. I want to see how it ends, and I hope it gets a second season.
Yeah.
All right. My number 1, I cannot believe it's not on Natasha's list. Like, I couldn't believe it.
What's your number
What
1?
the heck?
Oh, I know.
Yellow Jackets season 2. This show is fucking spectacular. It's everything I love in a show. Like, it's female friendship. It is murder and badassery. Like, it is lost. Like, they are lost. There was a plane crash. Like, there is a mysterious shit happening in the forest. Like, it is the first time I've watched a show that's like Lost-esque, that is living up to like my Lost feels. It is so well done. The characters are so well rounded and fucked up in the best storytelling types of ways. Like, I love Misty, the like insane
She's great.
character played by Christina Ricci. Like, I just love everyone on this show. Every episode, I'm like on the edge of my seat. I cannot wait. They had such a good season 2 finale. I can't wait to see more. It's told in different timelines too, which I love when it's done well. Like, there are the young women actresses who play the girls when they're lost in the forest, like struggling to survive in the winter in this one cabin. And it's a soccer team that crashed on their way to like the soccer nationals. And then we flash to them 15 years later or 20 years later. They're around 16 and now they're like in their
like
40s. 20 years later. And the women are in the town, like living their lives, but they are messed up from what happened to them. And they've never really confronted everything that went down in those woods where they were doing anything they could to survive. And It is funny. It is thrilling. It is fucked up. It is just everything good. Like the arcs of the characters are fantastic. It's emotional. The friendships are fantastic. Like highly, highly recommend. You can get it on anything that you can get like a Showtime ad. So you can get it on Amazon Prime, I think, if you get the Showtime edition, or you can get it on Paramount if you have like the Showtime bundle, or you can get it on Hulu if you have the Showtime bundle. Like, it is worth the Showtime bundle.
It is. Just like subscribe for like 1 month and then you'll be able to watch it, and then don't subscribe anymore.
Yeah. And I know that like a lot of people see a trailer and think it's a horror show. It's not. I would never be able to watch it. Like, it is thriller. It is survival thriller.
It's
There are
quite,
a few moments.
There are a few moments that are like, okay.
A little scary.
Yeah. It's such a very interesting take on the way like people do to survive. And it's just, but also at the same time, there's like this supernatural element that we still don't even know what it is. And I love that about it. I didn't put it on my list because Christine was going to talk about it. So I'm like, I'll just put more on my list that I'm going to be able to talk about. I really did enjoy it. I don't know if it's like my favorite, because sometimes I get those like little icky feelings that I don't really love. But yeah. Trauma.
It's really, I feel like the icky feelings, like we have such separate icks.
Yeah.
Like your icks are my like, oh, I love that character. Oh, she's so unpredictable and scary. Yeah, it's definitely like there is cannibalism involved, y'all. That is, and they maneuver around it, I feel like, in the best way they could. You know what I mean? Like there's an episode where we finally see how that comes to happen, and like they do it in such a way where like you really understand how they've gotten to this point. And they don't show it to you in a way that's going to make you like go vomit.
Yeah. I would, Alex and I watched the show together. I would love to know if that like made his top 10, because we both were like very entranced with it. We like couldn't wait to get the next episode.
Yeah. So good. All right. Okay. Well, y'all, those are our top 10 of 2023. I think we did a real nice spread of different shows on our list, and the same ones. I think it went really well there. I love them all. All right, before we wrap up today, Natasha, I want to hear what was on your honorable mentions list that didn't make the grand old list here.
So both Christine and I have Beef on here, which truly loved.
Yes.
It was so good.
It was so good. It just wasn't like, because it's just, it's so standalone almost, and it's so intense. It wasn't like gonna make my list in comparison to the ones that are so lovable and comfort showy, you know?
Agreed. Yeah. And I watched this show called From with Alex during the strike, and I think it had 2 seasons, and it was on Amazon, but you had to get like the MGM Plus subscription. Alex saw it on TikTok, and it was very creepy horror, but like horror meets Lost, because you're trying to figure out, these people are in this like weird town, and you can't leave the town, and there's creepy creatures that come out after dark. It's intense and insane. Another one of those like, how do they get out of this? Very Yellow Jackets, very similar to Silo as well, but in a more like horror-esque type thing. Christine would be scared. We told her to watch it, but I think she would be scared if she watched it. Really like that one. I have Mrs. Maisel, already talked about this. Shadow and Bone season 2. I just loved, we got a lot of the crows in this. I binged the entirety of The Crown with Alex during the strike. Freaking loved that
you have
show.
so many on your list.
I know. I loved The Crown. And I can't wait to watch this ending season, but I'm a little sad because it's going to be Princess Diana's death. So I'm not really looking forward to that. Mandalorian season 3, Ted Lasso season 3, Yellow Jackets, and then Shrinking, which is the little comedy show on Apple TV, which is really good if you want like a fun show, kind of like similar to, I guess, Ted Lasso in a way. It's about these shrinks at a therapist's in a doctor's office. And what are they called? Whatever. Harrison Ford's in it, and he's fantastic.
What are they called? What?
The like doctors, they're called like an office,
Like psychologists
office.
or counselors or therapists.
But like when they're a practice, it's a psychiatrist practice,
a psychology practice.
Yeah. Just the character work on Shrinking is great. So fun. So those are my honorable mentions. What about you?
Nice. I forgot about Shadow and Bone. Shadow and Bone season 2 like straddles a line of like, I love a lot of it, and then some of it I was like disappointed because it like felt really fast.
Yeah.
But my honorable mentions are Beef, of course. It was just done so well. Beef is such a slow burn, and then all of a sudden it's like, ah!
Yeah.
It's like on fire.
It's like you didn't know it would go to that point.
Yeah, it just gets really intense and really good. And then by the end, you're like, fuck. And then I wanted to put down Jury Duty because I think this is kind of a like comedy resurgence phenomenon here, that it's a new sort of show where like it's scripted, but one person is a real person that they brought in. So the premise of Jury Duty is that this guy has been called into jury duty and he's a regular person. He thinks he's going to regular jury duty, but everyone around him is an actor and like they're putting on a show and he thinks he's at regular jury duty. It is amazing. And it kind of is like the return of like an office-y feeling show because it's so raw the way, and it's so improv, like it's so funny. And the guy, what is his name, the guy who plays Ted in Westworld, Teddy,
James Marsden.
fuck, he's also James Morrison plays himself in it, and he's so funny. Like it is just like him interacting with the guy that doesn't know that this is a show is just perfect. Like I would watch it just for that. But it's really well done. It's very funny. I don't know if they'll be able to do a second season unless like they filmed some before they released this, but it's just so clever and so fun. And I really like, it just didn't fit on the list, or else it would have been on the list, because I think it's really worth talking about because there hasn't been something like that in a really long time. And then of course I've got Love is Blind. I had to put on my shitty mind numbing show because I love it so much. I have so much fun watching Love is Blind. And then Perfect Match I had so much fun watching because I had like all the Love is Blind people on it. But yeah, those were a time this year. All right, let's move on to Mary Kisscliff.
Okay. Ooh, I'm giving on. Sorry. Mary Kisscliff. My turn this episode. Okay. So we have Nick from Heartstopper, Jeremiah from
Yes.
Summer I Turned Pretty, and then King George from Queen Charlotte. Who are you gonna marry?
You just gave me a little buffet, like a little buffet of greatness.
I know.
I'm obviously gonna cliff King George.
Wow.
I'm in love with Jeremiah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to F Jeremiah. We'll have a fun little fling. And then I'm going to marry Nick, the sweetest boy in all the land.
Wow.
I love him so much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know, if I were going to pick my toxic way, I would like just kiss Nick and marry Jeremiah. But I feel like long term, Jeremiah and I might not. I think he might cheat on me. So going Nick. What about you?
I guess I'm gonna pick trauma for the rest of my life because I'm gonna marry King George.
Oh my God.
Well, that means I get to be queen. Okay, so I'm gonna marry King George.
Well, social climbing in this Mary Kiss cliff.
But he's also amazing besides his schizophrenia. I'm going to kiss. Oh, this is hard now. Okay. I didn't think about this.
Yeah. Who are you gonna cliff?
I'm gonna kiss Nick and I'm gonna cliff Jeremiah.
Obviously. Yeah. I was like, no one can cliff Nick.
No. Yep.
Yep. All right. Oh, valid. Well, I wish we had time to talk about Akhmev. I'm sorry it keeps getting cut. I'm starting to feel really guilty about it.
That's why we have to make it its
so
own
often.
episode now.
I know. I feel like, do we have to start doing like bonus episodes where we do our read along? I mean, I think that might go over well because people who want to read along have their read along. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So maybe we should do that for season 2. I don't know. Yeah. It's just another recording session.
Just add it on to the very end, though. We could do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening today. I hope you're having a wonderful start to your December. We release episodes every Friday, and the podcast is edited by Jake Needham and Alex Polis, with music by Cole Jenkins and vocals by Heather Traska. Chloe Laverson does our amazing socials, so make sure you're following us over on @ThoseWorkingFangirls on Instagram and TikTok, and our YouTube, youtube.com/@ThoseWorkingFangirls. We are about to go record our Fangirl Tea Time for this week, which is available on our Patreon from the Team Jacob tier and up. And it's a fun time. So if you're a patron, we'll see you there. If not, have a beautiful day, and we'll see you next week, y'all. Bye. I'm Christine.
I'm Natasha.
And we're Those Working Fangirls.